First thing we're gonna do is check for leans. Make sure the vehicle's not leaning one side or the other. If it's leaning one side or the other, that could be either tires, suspension, or extremely bad load. Second thing we're gonna look for is the lights. Make sure all the lights on the front of the vehicle, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean. You got your cab lights, lights on the mirror, you got your headlights, turn signals, bright. Next thing we're gonna do is look under the truck, verify there's no leaks. Then we're gonna pop the hood. First thing, go to the passenger side. First thing we're gonna inspect is the coolant reservoir. Make sure it's not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It has fluid in it, so make sure it's not leaking. Also, you need to make sure, look inside of it, you know, the sight glass right here. Make sure that it's got fluid and it's at operating range. Operating range is at or below full, but above add. Next thing we're gonna do is inspect the coolant hose. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted, no leaks. Next thing we're gonna do is inspect the alternator. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It's belt driven. So now we're gonna go inspect the belt. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Additionally, give it a little tug. Make sure there's no more than 3/4 of an inch of play. Correct adjustments, 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch. Next thing we're gonna check is the water pump. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with fluid, so it's not leaking. It is also belt driven. Go around to the driver's side. Describe the process for checking oil. You're gonna pull the dipstick out, wipe it clean, reinsert it, pull it back out, make sure it's at operating range. Next thing we're gonna do is check power steering fluid, power steering reservoir, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with fluid, no leaks. Look, make sure that it has fluid and it's at operating range. Next thing we're gonna do is check power steering hose, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted, deals with fluid, no leaks. Then we're gonna go to the air compressor. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It deals with air. I hear no leaks, and it is gear driven. All right. Next thing we're gonna do is go to steering shaft. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. U-joints. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Steering box. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It deals with the fluid. I see no leaks. Steering box hose. Not bent, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted, deals with fluid. I see no leaks. Go to the pitman arm. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Cast nut and cotter keys. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Your upper and lower steering arm. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Lower drag link. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. And we're gonna go to the suspension. Front and rear leaf spring hanger, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Leaf springs, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Also need to make sure that they're properly aligned, no scissoring. You got 2 leaf spring bolts, or 2 U-bolts, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. You got a shock absorber, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, deals with fluid. I see no leaks. Next we're gonna go to the braking system. Airlines, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Airlines go to the brake chamber. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. I hear no leaks with the brake chamber or the airlines. Then you're gonna inspect the slack adjuster and push rod. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. You need to tug on it, verify there's no more than 1 inch of play. Next we're gonna go to the brake shoes. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Free of grease and oil. You need to make sure they're not dangerously thin or have a minimum of 1/4 inch thickness. And no signs of heating, which is cracking or glazing. Next, we're gonna go to the brake drum. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, free of grease and oil, no signs of heat, which is bluing or bluish color. Next, we're gonna go to the inner and outer rim. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, no welds. Go to inner and outer sidewall. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Deals with air. I hear no leaks. Tread. Not bent, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. You need to make sure it's wearing evenly, no cupping or wearing to one side. And the front is required to have a minimum of 30 of an inch tread depth. Next, we can go to our lug nuts. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. How do you know? There's no rust trails, no shiny threads, no damage around the holes. All right. Inner and outer hub seal, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It deals with the fluid. I see no leak. Use the valve stem to remind you to check the tire pressure, either with a gauge or by thumping it with a mallet. Flat wraps up front of the vehicle, under the engine compartment, and the steer axle. So now we're gonna go to the side of the truck. First thing we're gonna do is inspect mirror and mirror bracket. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean. Got your marker light on the side. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean. It's of the proper color. So door handle, outer door handle, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Open it up. Got your inner door handle, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Check your hinges. Make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Verify your door pins are good by giving the door a little upward tug. Check your rubber seal around the door. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Next we can go to your steps. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, free of debris, things that make the trip and fall. Next we can go fuel tank. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with fluid, see no leaks. Fuel cap, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. And then additionally with fuel cap, you need to make sure it's got the safety chain and rubber seal. Next we're going to do catwalk steps. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, free of debris or things that make you trip and fall. Catwalk, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, free of debris, things that make you trip and fall. Got your drive shaft, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. U-joints on both ends, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Frame of the tractor, not bent, broke, cracked, no illegal welds, and everything's securely mounted to it. Now we're gonna go to suspension on the rear. You got your front leaf spring hanger, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Leaf spring, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, properly aligned, no scissoring. You got 2 U-bolts, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Shock absorber, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with fluid, see no leaks. You got a rear airbag on the back, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. I hear no leaks. And then you got 2 metal mounting plates on top and bottom of the airbag. You make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. So now we're gonna go to the braking system on the rear. Airlines, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. No, airlines, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Deals with air, I hear no leak. Brake chamber, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with air, I hear no leaks. Slack adjuster and push rods, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Additionally, with slack adjusting rods on the rear, you need to release the parking brake to pull on them to verify that there's no more than 1 inch play. Brake shoes, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, free of grease and oil. Make sure they're not dangerously thin or have a minimum 1/4 inch thickness, and no signs of heat, which is cracking or glazing. You got your brake drums, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, free of grease and oil, no signs of heat, which is bluing or bluish colors on the drums. Okay. So now we got the dual tires, so we want to inspect both inner rims, both outer rims. Make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, no welds. All right. So now we're going to do both inner sidewalls, both outer sidewalls, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted, deals with air, I hear no leak. Do both treads, not bent, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Make sure they're wearing evenly. No cupping or wearing to one side, and the rear is required to have a minimum of 2 32 of an inch tread depth. Additionally, with dual tires, you need to look inside the tires, make sure that the 2 rims are flush with each other and that there's no debris down inside there. Now we're gonna move on to the back of the tractor. Got your mud flaps, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Forgot something on the tire. So got ahead of myself. All right, so 11 nuts on the tire, on the wheels, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. How do you know? No rust trails, no shiny threads, no damage around the holes. You need to do your inner and outer axle seal, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It deals with the fluid. I see no leak. And use the valve stem to remind you to check the pressure on both tires, either with a gauge or dumping it with a mallet. Now we're gonna go on to the back of the truck. Gonna inspect mud flaps, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. All lights on the back of the vehicle, which is your brake lights, your turn signals, your running lights, and your reverse light, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean, and of the correct color. Alright, now we're going to go on to coupling of the trailer. We'll look up in here. We'll inspect the apron of the trailer, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. We want to inspect, make sure that the apron and the skid plate are flush with each other, no gaps. Inspect the skid plate, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Inspect the pivot pin, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. And inspect the release handle, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, and then it's in the locked position. Inspect the fifth wheel base, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. And then additionally, you need to go around to the back of the truck and inspect the kingpins, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. The locking jaws are not bent, broke, cracked, and securely mounted, and that the locking jaws are in the locked position around the kingpin. Now we're going to go to the electrical cord. Electrical cord's not torn, cut, or frayed. I see no exposed wires. It is securely mounted to the tractor with a safety latch and securely mounted to the trailer with a safety latch. All right. Air lines. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. They deal with air. I hear no leaks. They also need to be securely mounted to the tractor and securely mounted to the trailer with these glad hands, which we're also going to inspect. Make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It deals with air. I hear no leaks. Additionally, with your lines, with your air lines and electrical cord, make sure that they got plenty of clearance from the catwalk. They're not dragging, dragging the catwalk. All right. Alright, so then we need to inspect the front of the trailer. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, no holes. Now we need to inspect the side of the trailer. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, no holes. The side of the trailer is required to have 50% reflective DOT tape all the way down the side of it. Alright. Now we need to inspect, make sure that there's plenty of clearance between the rear tires of the tractor and the landing gear, so when you turn, it don't hit. Now we need to inspect the landing gear. Not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Landing gear handle, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. It's properly stowed, and your landing gear needs to be all the way up. Now we're going to do the frame of the trailer. Not bent, broke, cracked. Everything's securely mounted to it. Do all these cross members. All the cross members, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. And the trailer floor, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Got this light, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean, proper color. Next thing we're gonna go to is your air lines for the trailer. No abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Additionally, you need to make sure that there's plenty of clearance between the ground, so not dragging the ground. And deal there, I hear no leaks. Your tandem slide track, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Your tandem pins, your lock pins, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, and in a locked position. Now we're gonna do one axle on the trailer. So you got your air lines, not bent, broke, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. That goes into the brake chamber, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with air. I hear no leaks. All right. Then you got your slack adjusting rod, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Wanna have to release the brakes, pull on them, make sure there's no more than 1 inch play. All right. You got the inner and outer rim on both tires of the trailer, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, no welds. Inner and outer sidewall on both tires, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted, deals with the air. I hear no leaks. Tread on both tires, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. Make sure it's wearing evenly, no cupping or wearing to one side, and they're required to have a minimum 2/32 of an inch tread depth. And with the rear tire, with the dual tires, you need to look inside there, make sure that both rims are sitting flush with each other and there's no debris. Your lug nuts, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Make sure there's no rust trails, shiny threads, no damage around the holes. Your inner and outer hub seals, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Deals with fluid, see no leaks. Use the valve stem to remind you to check the tire pressure on both tires, either with a gauge or by thumping it with a mallet. Go on to mud flap, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Work our way back. Need to inspect your ABS light and your marker light on the rear, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, of the proper color and clean. Go to the rear. Inspect all the lights on the rear. You got your clearance lights, marker lights, tail lights, license plate light. Make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean, and of the proper color. Your door, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Roll latch, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. Rubber seal at the bottom of the door, no abrasions, bulges, cuts, securely mounted. And then the rear of the vehicle is required to have 100% reflective DLT tape, which it does. That's it for the rear. Now we're going to go to the passenger side and do anything that's unique to the passenger side. It's the only thing that's unique to the passenger side on this truck. Is the exhaust. Exhaust not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. No signs of leaking, which is black soot anywhere other than the end of the tailpipe. So that's it for the outside of the pre-trip inspection. We're gonna get in the cab and do the in-cab next. Alright, first thing we're gonna do on the in-cab, inspect our seatbelt. Seatbelt's not torn, cut, or frayed. Make sure it latches, securely mounted, unlatches. Next thing we're gonna inspect is our fire extinguisher. Make sure it's charged and in the green, correct type, ABC, and it's securely mounted. You should have 3 red reflective triangles under that seat. Make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. You're required to carry spare fuses. You need to make sure you have your spare fuses. Right. So then you can do your city horn. Turn the key on in order to get your highway horn. Highway horn. Alright, so we did seat belt, fire extinguisher, safety triangles, spare fuses. We did horn, highway horn. Alright, okay. So next thing we're doing is go on to our mirrors. Make sure they're not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean, no illegal stickers. Windshield, not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted, clean, no illegal stickers. Alright, so next thing we gotta do is gotta turn the key to the on position without starting the engine. As soon as you turn the key on, you want to verify that the tractor and trailer ABS light come on, and then it goes off. Right. So next what we're going to do is we're going to turn the mix valve to heat and defrost. We're going to physically check the heater, physically check the defrost. Right. It's good. So next thing we're going to do is verify we got fluid. So we're going to hit the washer, the squirter button. Windshield wipers not bent, broke, cracked, securely mounted. We got fluid. So next thing we're gonna do is check our instrumentation lighting on our dash. We're gonna hit left turn signal, right turn signal, 4 ways. We're gonna turn the lights on and brights. All right. So next thing we're gonna do is perform a safe start. Perform a safe start. Make sure both brakes are pulled. The vehicle's in neutral. Start the engine. All right. Once the engine's running, we'll check our gauges. So you got your oil pressures rising or at an operating range. Water temperature is rising or at an operating range. Your voltmeters between 12 and 14 volts. And your air pressures are rising or at an operating range. So next thing we're going to do is perform a parking brake check. So make sure brakes are pulled, put on brake, put the vehicle in gear, and gently tug against the parking brake, make sure it holds, okay? The next thing to do is a service brake check. To do a service brake check, you're gonna release both brakes, roll forward to 5 miles an hour, hit the brakes, and verify that the wheel don't turn left to right. So next thing, that's it for the in-cab up until the brake check. So to perform a brake check, they're going to tell you to fan the pressure back to 90 psi. So we're going to just pump the brakes. 90 psi. So the first thing we're gonna do is perform a governor check. We're gonna check and make sure that the governor kicks out between 120 and 140 psi. So we're gonna give it a little gas, rev it up, let it build pressure. The governor kicked out. So the next thing we're going to do is perform a leak test. Perform a leak test, we're going to turn the motor off. We're going to release the parking brakes. Hold our foot on the brake for 1 minute, verifying that no more than 4 psi is lost in that minute. So minutes up, no loss of 4 psi. So leak test is done. The next thing we're going to do is verify that our low air pressure warning light and buzzer come on before 60 psi. In order to do that, you gotta turn the key back on to get your pressure back. You need to do that before you perform the leak test to verify that you didn't lose pressure. So key's back on. So now we're gonna fan the pressure back, fan it down, and then the warning light and buzzer come on before 60 psi. There's my warning lights on the first one. Alright, there's the warning light and buzzer. Okay. So now, next thing we're going to do is verify that the parking brake and trailer valve pop out between 20 and 40 psi. So we're going to pump it down. Both valves popped out. That concludes the air brake test. So that concludes the whole pre-trip, in-cab, and air brake test.